And you see it in some poor countries still where whenever I go back home to Jamaica, I've been to Africa, not been to South America, but Asia, you notice in those cultures where they move around, the people are just slimmer. They're not going to the gym. Like when I land in Jamaica, I'll always see these people working at the airport. I know they don't have the money to afford to go to a gym, but they're lean looking. You know what I mean? They're not big and muscular, but the arms will be toned, the guys, the ladies' legs are toned, and they're not going to any gym, right? But they're just forced to move around a lot more. And just that constant movement just makes everything look, you see it in Europe a lot too. Most people who are not happy with how they look or they're overweight or what have you, the two things that are holding them back, which definitely hold me back, or held me back rather, is lack of knowledge and pride. Or to be more blunt, ignorance and arrogance.
Yeah,
I didn't know
elaborate more on that.
Yeah, okay. I did not know what I was doing. Some of the things that I thought were true were not true. I didn't know what I did not know. But I said, hey, I'm smart. I'll Google it and I'll figure it out. But at some point you have to acknowledge after decades of failing, which is what many of us have, is that you don't really know what you're doing. So you can need some help, right? Or you're going to spend a ton of time. And actually had already spent a ton of time, by my own calculation, a couple thousand hours, actually, no exaggeration on that. The other part, like I said, is the pride or arrogance. You think you can just figure it out. But you wouldn't go to court and represent yourself most likely. You'd get a lawyer, right? So this is one of the reasons I'm a big fan of going and finding somebody who knows what the heck they're doing to get help, professional help. It's a lot more efficient, effective, and it will definitely work. You know, at some point in time, you just have to acknowledge you don't know what you're doing. Because the other part is there's this myth out there that when people are overweight, they're either lazy or they're just secretly eating a ton of food. You know, I tried many times. I would lose, fail, gain again, blah, blah, blah. Lots of people have tried and failed. You know, I felt like I had a sledgehammer. I was trying to cut down a tree, denting it, but not really cutting it. This lady came along. She gave me an axe. I started chopping, seeing progress. I had two other coaches after her. They gave me chainsaws. And I just kept getting better. And, you know, once you actually start to see progress now, you're motivated to keep doing it, right? You're less likely to quit. Plus, the person can hold you accountable, et cetera, et cetera. So that was, because now I'm 49 and I'm in far better shape than when I was in my 30s or my 20s, right? Significantly stronger. Like last year when I was 48, I deadlifted, my PR was 405 pounds, squatted 315.
Wow.
I mean, hell, probably like a month or so ago, I could still bench press 315, you know, for like one rep, but I could still do it. So I can just imagine what I could have done with my 20s if I knew what the hell I was doing. But hey, it's better late than never. That's the way I look at it. And the other part too is probably more important is I found a deeper why. Because it's not enough, in my opinion, to just want to change how you look. Usually it's not enough, right? And it's also not enough when people tell you, people were telling me for years, my parents, whatever, you need to lose weight, or the doctor, blah, blah, blah. That usually doesn't, you have to find this deeper why. And for me, it was like two things. Is that beach incident, sitting there on the beach looking around and realized I'm the only fat person. And two, I was sitting in the courtesy shuttle going to the dealership to pick up my car, and I felt this crazy weak feeling go through my body. And it turned out when I went to the doctor, I was pre-diabetic. He said, you're this close to being diabetic. Right, and so that scared the hell out of me. You know,
that's what I was just gonna ask. How did that make you feel?
Scared the heck out of me. Scared the hell out of me. Blood pressure was pretty high. It was like 180 over, I don't know, 120, 130, something crazy like that. I still have pictures, but I would usually keep the ones, for sure I saved the ones where it was my best blood pressure for the readings, where it would go down to like 160 over 120 and nonsense like that. So I was kind of a mess physically, or health-wise as well. And this stuff messes with your self-confidence. You know, I couldn't brush my teeth in one go. Like to bend over.
What do you mean by that?
So to bend over and brush my teeth, my lower back would fatigue, and I'd have to then stand upright and literally take a break and then resume brushing my teeth, right? Which is obviously not good. But
and how heavy were you at that time?
235. You know, you don't even need to be, well, a lot of people say that's not that heavy, but it actually really is, because our views of what's normal has changed over the decades, right? My mother is 5'6". She said she weighed 130 pounds when she had me, 140 when she had my brother. My mom was an executive. She sat on her butt her whole corporate life. The first time she went to gym, I was late teens, right? So that generation is just different. Nowadays a lady is 5'6", 130. She's going to the gym all the time, most likely. She's not likely that she's just not going to the gym. Yeah. So things have changed, how we eat, move around, or the lack of moving around, the bad eating, the environment, so many more toxic chemicals here, mess with hormones, this, that. There's a lot of factors that make it more difficult in today's world, let's say, to be slim and normal compared to how our parents or our grandparents looked back then.
And you talked about your mom sitting for a lot. Would you say one of the biggest reasons why it's affecting so many people, and the problem with the epidemic of people being obese has to do with the sedentary lifestyle?
Yes, big time. I mean, when you sit, it only takes like a couple minutes for all sorts of bad things to start happening, with brain function or metabolism, etc. Yeah, sitting is pretty bad for you, incredibly bad for you. So when I eat, and I learned this when I was pre-diabetic, I always walk afterwards, 15 to 20 minutes, because it's great for blood sugar management. I'd prick my finger, check my blood sugar. It was noticeably like 20 points different or what have you. It's a really big thing because usually we eat and we just sit down, right? And that is just no bueno, no good whatsoever. It also helps your body to, digest the food better, et cetera, et cetera. And the sedentary lifestyle is a real thing. I remember the first time I got a Fitbit. So now I'm wearing the Apple Watch and also this Oura Ring. I think I was doing like 2,000 steps a day or something crazy, or less than that. It made me very aware of how little I moved. When you're a kid, if you forget something upstairs, what do? You just run upstairs and get it. As an adult, you think, do I need to get that thing now? I'll get it later. You try to justify.
Or you struggle walking up the stairs to go get it.
Yes.
And you walk up there and you say, you forget, what was I coming up here to get?
Yeah, exactly. So, we just slowly, because there's this old saying, do you slow down because you get old, or do you get old because you slow down? My dad is, 76 now? Still in great shape, right? Still super fit, but he's always lived that life his whole life. So now if he falls, he'll get back up. A lot of people in their 60s, if they fall, they're going to the hospital. Most likely fracture something, break something, etc. But he done martial arts, yoga, what have you. He's always lived that life his entire life, which makes a huge difference, right? So, yeah, I'm a big fan of movement. I used to not respect walking many years ago, but walking is incredible. And if you think about it, most of us at some point in time have seen some very big person just start walking and they just start to lose a ton of weight. They weren't going to the gym. They may not even have changed their diet, but just that moving. And it's not that it's burning a lot of calories. It's that blood sugar management, which is incredible, right? Because that's where a lot of us get into problems. That inactivity is just no good. It just messes with everything. It's kind of like when you're cooped up in your house for a while and you start to feel, what is it called, cabin fever or what have you. This urge you have to go outside is not in your head. Your body wants that vitamin D, it wants exposure to the sunlight, and it wants to move. It's just not natural. When you look at older societies, the only time they went inside in some small structure was to sleep or to have sex. That was pretty much it. Other than that, they're outside moving around constantly moving around, right? And you see it in some poor countries still, where whenever I go back home to Jamaica, I've been to Africa, not been to South America, but Asia, you notice in those cultures where they move around, the people are just slimmer. They're not going to the gym. Like when I land in Jamaica, I'll always see these people working at the airport. I know they don't have the money to afford to go to a gym, but they're lean looking. You know what I mean? They're not big and muscular, but the arms will be toned, the ladies' legs are toned, and they're not going to any gym, right? But they're just forced to move around a lot more. And just that constant movement just makes everything look. You see it in Europe a lot too, because the great public transportation. New York would be a good example. When you go to New York, you see a lot of good-looking people, for lack of a better word. Granted, New York attracts a lot of those people, but my theory is that, they move around so much there compared to other parts of the U.S. where you have to have a car, right? So it's just easy to be sedentary. A lot of people will jump in the car to drive to the mailbox, right? I walk down to my mailbox. It's, like 8 minutes down, 8 minutes back. So that's a good 16-minute walk, right? Just walk down, grab the mail, blah, 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 and come back. And it's those little things to try to keep you moving a lot.